我 share 唔到啊
今日
，Danny。
OK，我而家做俾你啊。
嗯哼，Yeah。
OK，好，Welcome everyone to our once a month English practice, both a meditation and a Dharma talk with Venerable De Hong. Can people on Insight Timer hear me and also Venerable De Hong? This is the first time that we're doing this way.
Testing, testing.
Let me check. Can you hear us outside? No one. Let me check it this way. Can everybody hear us?
Testing, testing.
Okay, so they can hear us. That's good. I know.
Awesome.
Okay, so there should not be any echo anymore. Okay, so once again, there should not be an echo. You should be able to hear us clearly. Venerable De Hong, can you check also?
Testing. 1, 2, 3.
Okay. How about now? Still echo?
Testing. 1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Still an echo. I don't know where the echo comes from. Okay. In that case, just hang on 1 second. Sorry about that. I'm gonna have to do it the old-fashioned way, which is not ideal, but just give me 1 second, okay? Because we're running into an issue with audio. Outside on YouTube and Facebook, you shouldn't have that problem, but it will just take me 1 minute, okay? Okay, you should be able to hear me as well as Venerable De Hong, but should not be any echo. Can someone test? Give me some
Testing. 1,
feedback.
2, 3.
No echo. Okay, I know. I need to fix it next time. Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
Welcome to Venerable De Hong. He will be talking with us. I think we're going to do a Dharma talk first, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And by the way, we welcome any donation. It will all go to supporting Venerable De Hong's work in bringing compassion and loving kindness to those behind bar, those who are incarcerated, bringing Dharma to those who cannot speak for themselves. By the way, any donation that you make today will be matched 1-to-1. Also, if you're using iPad or iPhone, as it turns out, Apple would take 30% of that. So if you're using an iPad or iPhone, you might want to donate on my profile page, in which case they will not take 30%. But we'll welcome it either way.
Thank you.
Okay, so with that, I'd like to turn the table over to Venerable De Hong, and
Thank you. I guess I'll start. Just a note. Just a note for those of you. One of the issue inside the prison is that most people don't have access to Buddhist books or outside volunteers. A lot of the state prisons, let's say California, they have the tablets, they have an app, but they still need outside volunteer because it would really motivate them. That's what I like to share. But anyway, so tonight we will talk about feelings, how we can be present and feel our feelings. It is a challenging topic, but for us, that we are not comfortable telling people how we feel, which is understandable. Now, with the practice of mindfulness of feeling tones, I hope that it can help you guys, or especially those of you who meditate, to know and to feel, basically to know the cause or the arising of the feeling and to feel it and notice how it affects the body or how the body affects your feeling. That is my point. So for the previous 2 months, we talked about trauma and healing. This month, we talked about mindfulness of feelings. And just a note ahead, starting next year, January, I will be discussing some of the core teachings of the Buddha and explain you how you can apply to your daily activities, to your personal issues, plus the practice of mindfulness meditation in a way is more like Buddhist psychology. And tonight I like to use Bhikkhu Analayo's book. The title is Satipatthana, The Direct Path to Realization. I like this book a lot because he goes into detail and explain what feeling is and how to recognize feeling. And then he goes into what pleasant feeling is, unpleasant, and as well as neutral. So basically, from the Satipatthana Sutta by the Buddha, which means the establishment of mindfulness, which involves 4 foundations. So a few months ago, I think back in July, I talked about the mindfulness meditation or mindfulness of the body. That's the first establishment, the first foundation. Mindfulness of feelings is the second. Mindfulness of the mind, mindfulness of the Dharma or phenomena is the fourth. So here the Buddha said, and how monks does he in regard to feelings by contemplating feelings? When feeling a pleasant feeling, he knows I feel a pleasant feeling. For unpleasant feeling, I feel unpleasant feeling. For neutral, I feel a neutral feeling. Notice I use red to different colors to distinguish the 3 categories or 3 types of feelings. And then for worldly pleasant feeling, the meditator would know I feel a worldly pleasant feeling. What is worldly feeling, or another term for it is mundane. Worldly feeling means that, let's say someone gives you a compliment, or you receive a gift, you make a good friend, you get a raise, something nice happens to you, or the situation or the issue. This is considered a worldly pleasant feeling. The reason that I mark it red, usually I use red for something that is alarming, because when we feel pleasant from someone or from something, we have a tendency to attach, to crave for more, which for meditators, you want to be mindful of your attachment or of your craving. For unworthy pleasant feeling, or another term for it is spiritual pleasant feeling if you are not a Buddhist. Now, unpleasant feelings means that you naturally feel pleasant from within without someone telling you or giving you compliments, or without living in a better environment, or with, this is internal. That's what I meant. The Buddha called it unworthy. Here is translated as unworthy, or you can call it the super mundane pleasant feeling. The same analogy applies to unpleasant feeling. If someone gives you a look that is not pleasant, if someone says something to you that is not sensitive, that is not nice, or if you are in a situation that causes uncomfortable feeling, all of these are worldly unpleasant feelings. The reason is that you don't have to suppress it, you don't have to reject it, you don't have to ignore it. Just sit with it, just be present with this feeling and notice how it affects your body and let it pass. You want to keep repeating it, and there comes a point that when it comes up again, you can be calm and at peace with yourself and not affected by it. That is why I put it red. For unworthy, unpleasant feeling, or spiritual unpleasant feeling, or super mundane unpleasant feeling, you want to also sit with it. The issue is, it could be that you are not happy with your practice, or with your spirituality, or with your progress. Then the one thing to keep in mind is to let go of your expectation and demand. Okay, then the same principle, the same analogy applies to neutral feeling, be it worthy or unworthy. Neutral can be difficult to determine because most of our feelings are either pleasant or unpleasant. You will see why later that Bhikkhu Analayo explained how to determine a neutral feeling. So basically, like in the previous statements, feelings are divided into three categories. And feeling, basically from the term Vedana, the Sanskrit, the Pali term, and it can be both. It can be bodily feeling. Your feeling can be affected by your body. Let's say you have certain pain in the body. It could be physical illness, it could be terminal illness, it could be cancer that can affect our feelings. Just keep that in mind. Or mental feeling, meaning that it comes from our mind or through our senses. Now, the term Vedana or feeling here does not include emotion, which is different. But in brief, emotion is how we express our feeling and sensations in the body. There is a book by, I forgot the author, is How Emotions Are Made. Anyway, when we are able to understand and detach our feelings, it can free us from suffering, from reacting. If we can catch it right at the beginning when the feeling is arising, especially for worldly or the mundane pleasant feeling or unpleasant. Basically, contemplating means that you are able to understand it, know how it feels through your mindfulness or awareness. Before we react to it or engage with it. And when we recognize that, then we are able to realize our attitude or our reactions just right at the initial stage of each feeling. And really, when we are mindful, when we understand and feel the feelings, it can help us, it can improve our daily activity, our daily life. Again, this comes about being mindful, being observe, to be able to observe. So let's pause for a few seconds. So what this slide is saying is that there are three types of feelings, but then when we also have to divide it to worthy or unworthy, then we have this sixfold scheme, which is shown in this slide right here, and it's as clear as it is. I hope that you guys can see this quickly. The distinction between worthy and unworthy is here, Bhikkhu Analayo said, the flesh, meaning that we feel it directly either from the body or through our senses. That's worthy. Unworthy means it has to do with our renunciation, is how we are able not to be involved in the mundane world, or the worldly world, meaning that this is internal, whether you feel pleasant from within or unpleasant from within. And being aware of it can help us to realize our progress, or not making progress. And here the Buddha did not reject all types of feelings. He literally place an emphasis on the consequences of the feelings, whether we reject it or we crave for it. That's why, this mental and ethical consequences. Unpleasant, unworthy, pleasant, or neutral feelings arising during deep concentration and here again is internal, and it's due to our dissatisfaction of our progress, and that is because of our expectation, of our demand, of our desire. Feelings here can lead to this unwholesome mental reaction depending on the type of feeling. That is right, to recognize the, the conditional dependence of craving and mental reaction. Like I said earlier, when we feel good, when something external happening to us, we have a tendency to crave for it and want more. And that's why I marked it in red earlier. I hope you guys can see that. And also, the thing with feelings is that when we are mindful, it's easy to notice because we used feeling as our object of meditation, just as we use the breath. The other thing is that to be mindful of is the sustained contemplation of the impermanent nature of feelings can become powerful, can become a powerful tool to disenchant from them. Meaning that when we're able to sit longer, to be mindful of the feeling moment by moment, and notice the impermanent nature of each feeling, then we're able to detach from them. And according to the Buddha, this is the characteristics of Arahant. Arahant here means someone who is enlightened. If you can do it, congratulations. But be mindful that If you say that you are not, okay, it doesn't bother me, be mindful of the what we call indifference, uh, oblivious to the feeling. Especially when you say that you feeling neutral, neutral can lead to being indifferent or oblivious. Because a lot of our feelings are conditioned, and when we are able to fully apprehend it, then we are able to detach it, and we are able to catch it when it starts to arise. um, it Again, this comes down to being mindful, observing it. Just as I think back in July, I used the example observing the traffic, standing on the sidewalk. The same analogy applies here when you are sitting mindful of the feeling, but ground your awareness in the breath, because you want to be able to come back when your mind wanders away. And all you have to do is just observe each feeling one at a time. Then you no longer identify with any feeling. Just as the same principle, the same analogy applies to thoughts. Pause. The the other thing is, especially from the Zen tradition or the Japanese Zen, um, in the later Buddhist development in China, where when you feel something, you want to ask like, who is it that feels, right? But when you are able to fully observe the feeling, it is not you that is feeling the feeling. It is just this feeling comes up, and you're able to catch it, and you still can be mindful, can be calm and at ease. And that's why here I put this in green, is that he advised monks, and also here including, I would say, including meditators, lay people, is that don't get excited by praise, or don't get upset by blame, because of that. Because if we're not careful, then we have a tendency to react to either one. Either we crave for it or we reject it. We get upset. And from being mindful, um, basically from the Buddha's approach, we are able to um, focus on the psychological underpinnings of view instead of the content, meaning that when we observe each feeling, we notice how it can affect our psychology, our state of mind. And it's not just the feeling, right? And because of this approach, I mean, for the Buddha, he was able to, or here you can also apply to a meditator, that the person is able to trace the arising of views to craving, which in turn arises dependent on feeling. When we are craving for something, just be mindful that it is because of your feeling. And when we're able to understand the role of feeling between contact and craving, then this whole process can be transcended. Meaning that, let's say, you go to the mall, you look at a shirt or a pair of shoes, and you like it. And then, let's say you don't have money, but you have a credit card. And then you definitely you buy it. That is, I don't know, I try to make it as simple as possible. Then you're craving. But if you're able to say, oh, okay, it's really nice, but you're able to not fall for it, then you're able to transcend it. Or you can apply to something even subtle. Let's say for someone who smokes a cigarette, right? If the desire or if the craving comes up, then if the person is trying to quit and withdraw mindfulness or awareness, the person hopefully can prevent himself or herself from craving or from giving up and fall for the nicotine trap. Again, when we contemplate on feelings, we have the ability to generate insight into our views, our opinion. When we like this, when we don't like that, that is our view. Again, that comes from our feeling. We can also, with mindful observation, we can also understand how feelings affect our thoughts or color our thoughts, our reactions. The other thing is that when we put our feelings under being we're able to observe it, then we will be able to see that a lot of our reactions or a lot of our emotion turn out to be an illusion because we react to the feelings. We like, we dislike. Again, it all comes down to our being conditioned. Here, I like just to read off the blue highlight, which is really, I think, important. When with clear awareness of the conditioning impact of feeling can lead to a restructuring of habitual reaction patterns that have become meaningless or even detrimental. In this way, emotions can be deconditioned at their point of origin. Let's say, as adults, when we are mindful, when someone gives us a compliment or someone criticizes us, and if we are mindful of our reaction when we don't react to that, then we can also decondition our emotion because we don't have to react to it. So when we contemplate on feeling, we are able to see how our views and opinions have been conditioned. That's what the first statement is trying to say. Um, I'm going to skip this too because this goes a bit detailed into some of the clinging and craving as well, similar to what we have discussed. Pause. Pleasant feelings. Well, it's 6:28. I like to go a little bit faster if you guys don't mind. Here he talks about pleasant feelings and the importance of joy, meaning that when we meditate, when we are able to be in deep concentration, that is a wholesome state that gives us um, the unworthy pleasant feeling. Okay, and with that, that means that there is this presence of delight and non-sensual joy because we feel joy not coming from our senses, but is from our concentration, from our deep absorption practiced. again, with non-sensual joy, meaning when we feel joyful, not through our senses, then that feeling can lead to deeper concentration and realization, meaning deeper insights. Here, unpleasant feelings. Going back to the Buddha's time, a lot of people at the time from other religions, they tend to think that by torturing their body, by practicing asceticism, they could eliminate their negative karma. But I mean, that is considered self-inflicted pain. And the Buddha did not agree with that view. Any attempt to walk through the retribution of the entire sum of one's unwholesome deeds is bound to fail, because the series of past lives of any individual is without a discernible beginning, unless you have become enlightened like the Buddha. So just be mindful of what we are trying to do to get rid of our negative karma. Here, so basically the Buddha's realization did not depend on putting up with painful feelings. It was through his insight, through the nature of suffering, of the human suffering. And the way out of this sensual pressure is to be mindful and observe unpleasant feeling. And simply observing physical pain for what it is prevent us from reacting or producing mental repercussions. One thing, so now with neutral feelings, is that, like I said earlier, most of our feelings are pleasant or unpleasant. To be mindful of neutral feelings is not an easy task, and we can only do it by way of inference, by noting the absence of both pleasant or unpleasant feelings. Let's say we meet someone new, we don't know this person well, then we can say that I feel neutral to this person, and it's okay. But we have to be honest, we have to be open and genuine when we say that. The other thing to be mindful of is to that even neutral feelings are also impermanent. They don't stay, right? And the thing with neutral feeling is that it can lead to the arising of wisdom, and not when we don't become indifferent or oblivious. That's the key to remember. Here, I'll read the blue sentence out loud. Neutral feeling related to the presence of wisdom transcends the object, since it results from detachment and equanimity and not from the pleasant or unpleasant features of the object. So know how to detach, understand the practice and the meaning of equanimity can help us to develop wisdom. Again, the practice of equanimity is really, really important. And what it is that when we are able to refine to look into our feelings with refinement, and also with the assistance of equanimity, it can transcend non-sensual feelings of mental joy. So tonight we'll be doing the mindfulness of feelings. What is involved is that when you're sitting, after a few minutes, you can focus on the body scan or the sense door, and then the breath, and ground your awareness in the breath, and just pay attention to your feeling, whatever that comes up, and just be honest with yourself whether you feel pleasant or unpleasant, or if you recall an experience or an encounter with someone, how you feel about it, and just be aware of that. You don't have to label it. All you have to do is just be present with it and try not to crave for pleasant feeling and reject unpleasant feeling. With that, I will continue with the practice of with our meditation tonight. So let's take a few deep breaths. As you breathe in, notice your body may tense up a little bit because your body takes an amount of effort and energy to fill your lungs with air. But when you breathe out, it takes no effort, and that's how you're able to relax your body. Just be aware of that, of the process of the breath. Breathe in, breathe out, and relax. And take as many deep breaths as you like to fully relaxed. Once you're done, breathe normally and allow your body to settle. Start with a gentle smile. Notice how you feel and how that feeling gives rise to the physiological sensations in the body. And note that the feeling, the sensations are quickly fading away. How you feel next depends on your mind, your body, or both. Let's move on and do the sense door practice. We'll come back to the feeling later. Notice or be aware of your environment, the space around you, the room temperature. Let's check in with your mind, see how busy it is or restless or both. Your feeling, your attitude, your mood, your perception, your view, all can be colored by what's going on in your mind, or can be conditioned by your mind. Your sense of seeing, whether your eyes are open or closed. Your sense of hearing, know that you cannot turn off or shut down your hearing consciousness. Your sense of smell, your sense of taste. At this moment, as you're meditating, these four senses are at rest. Your mind could be at rest if it's not thinking, wandering, and producing thoughts. Then on to your body. Be aware of the sensations or tension or tightness that are constantly coming and going through in your body. This is the sense door practice that enables you to stay grounded and centered wherever you are, so you don't easily get distracted or feel overwhelmed when you are being triggered. So check in with your senses again. See if you are able to stay grounded in the breath and not reacting to anything. Let's move on. Let's bring your awareness to the breath. And be aware of the breath, the in-breath and the out-breath. In and out. As you ground your awareness in the breath, now let's pay attention to your feeling in each moment. So just notice how you feel. Then examine that whether your feeling is pleasant or unpleasant. If you feel pleasant, see if it is external or internal. External means that you feel good because of someone or something. This feeling is called the worldly pleasant feeling or the mundane pleasant feeling. Try not to crave for it, because when you do, then you feel stressful because that feeling may not come back. If you feel good from within, after a few minutes of sitting, without the aid of anything, without your senses, the joy or the pleasant feeling from your senses, this type of feeling is called the unworldly or spiritual pleasant feeling. Again, just sit with it. Notice how it feels, how it can affect your body. If you feel unpleasant, then check to see whether it is external or internal. External means that you don't feel good because of someone or something. This is called the worldly or mundane unpleasant feeling. Try not to suppress, reject, or ignore it. Allow yourself to sit with it. Notice how it feels, how it affects the body, and then let it go. Don't react to it or blame yourself. Let it come, let it go. With practice, that feeling may not come back, but when it does, you don't get affected by it, or your feeling is not affected by it, by the person or the situation or the issue. If you don't feel good from within because of your progress or dissatisfaction with the practice, this is called the unworthy or spiritual unpleasant feeling, then let go of your demand or expectation and desire of where you should be or how you should be. With practice, that feeling does not return. This is the practice of mindfulness of feeling, or contemplation of feeling. It helps you to understand and to feel your feelings. So continue to pay attention to your feeling. When your mind wanders away, bring it back to the breath, gently, patiently. See how your feeling can be affected by someone or something. How you can catch the feeling and then let it go without having to react to it or engage with it. And it's from your mindful observation. Let's sit in silence for the next few minutes and continue to be mindful of your feeling, one moment at a time. Let's check in with your mind. See how settled it may be, clear, less reactive, less judging, less wondering. Your feeling, your perception, your mood, your attitude, your view can be colored or affected by your mind, your emotion, your body, your qualities of mindfulness, concentration, patience, your ability to express your feeling. I apologize for going so fast with the discussion on the neutral feeling. You guys can get this book, the PDF format, for free on the internet. If you Google the title, it will take you to Bhikkhu Analayo's website. He has written so many books. He's a scholar, but at the same time, he is also a meditator, a very, very experienced meditator. I recommend that you guys download his book and read it. And if you have questions, let me know or let us know. With that, I hand it over to Danny.
Thank you. Thank you, Venerable De Hong. We have 80 meditators on Insight Timer today. In spite of a little bit of technical difficulty with the audio, I consider today a great success. Any questions or comments from all the platforms, not just Insight Timer, but YouTube, Facebook, even Zoom? There's a request to post the name of the book and the author. Did you do that in the beginning of the PowerPoint?
Yes, I do have it. I think on
Okay.
slide 3, on the second or the third slide.
Yeah. Okay. So it's in the PowerPoint, but I will extract that and post it on our circle after class. We have a little bit of time, so perhaps I'd like to talk to you about something. First of all, I think there's often a confusion about mindfulness in the sense that in the West, especially in America, we often think of mindfulness as a destiny, as opposed to it being just the first step of a long journey. Because people like to build a brand, so they have mindfulness meditation as if it is different from Vipassana meditation, and as is different from Zen meditation, where in fact they are, you can't, they're not mutually exclusive. So I like to think of mindfulness just like checking your purse, checking your backpack when you travel. Very often when we travel, we say, well, beware of the pickpocket. And of course, me being who I am, I said, no, that's never going to happen to me. I'm so experienced in traveling. And of course, during the summer when I was in Italy, in the last day, I was pickpocketed. So I like to think of mindfulness as just that, just keep checking your mind as if you're checking your wallet or your purse or your backpack. If you don't even know your mind is, then how do we begin that long journey of spiritual practice? So mindfulness is just that, where's my mind and where do I put my mind? Where do I anchor my mind? And I think today you talk about one of the foundations of mindfulness, which is anchor your mind onto your feeling and identify your feeling, knowing whether it's pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. But at the same time, understand that you don't want to get attached to the feeling if it's pleasant, or you don't want to become averse when it's negative, when it's pain, right? I think that's if I understand it correctly, that's sort of the gist of what you discussed today.
I guess if I may add, a lot of, like this John Kabat-Zinn, who is the founder of the mindfulness or the secular mindfulness practice or MBSR, He defines it as the art of paying attention to a particular object. But when, let's say, when we are on the road, when we are on the go, then simply just being aware of your surrounding, being aware of what's going on in your body by bringing that awareness to the breath, and
Yes.
like, hey, check in, okay, how I am. But when we are meditating, then we stay with the breath and whatever that comes up. So the breath is our object of meditation. Or tonight, the feeling is our object of attention, and we are just being mindful of that.
Correct. Correct.
Just in being
Yes.
aware.
Yes. Thank you. Yeah. So it's like recruiting your body and your breath to be your to be your team. So often we're not aware of a body, we're not aware of a breath. And
Yeah.
as we practice mindfulness meditation, we become very sensitive to a breath and very sensitive to any change in a body when certain feeling arises, and that they become like the precursor. And so, sometimes we get upset and we could be upset for days without really knowing, how to resolve the conflict. In this case, the body is actually tells you. You already sense something's going on, and you can say like, it's like grabbing yourself by the neck and say, "Hey, hold on, come back here. Let me just." Clara has just a simple question. She said, "Is it okay to just check to see if the feeling is pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral, and not necessarily check to see if it's worldly or internal?"
You could, but the thing is, then we want to be able to understand the feeling tone of it.
Mm-hmm.
Because let's say you feel pleasant, you want to be able to say, okay, how that comes about, right? Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I feel pleasant. Is it because of that someone said something to me, or because I had a positive experience, or I just went to a party, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you don't, you just feel because we humans, we have a tendency to attach to them. That's the thing. I mean, you don't have to, but it's important that you do,
Yeah.
especially for
Mm-hmm.
meditators.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes there's a running joke that if you just put the mindfulness on in front of something, then automatically, magic happen. So we can say mindful eating, mindful running, mindful
Hmm.
this and that. In fact, a couple of days ago, I watched a movie that I actually watched once when I was on the plane. It's a Japanese movie about mindful bathing, taking a bath. How to do a bath, how to take a bath in the hot spring and be mindful, and it was a benefit of that. So I wonder if I could spend maybe let's run over time a little bit, maybe spend the next 5-10 minutes to talk about something that you and I both have in common, which is caregiving. As we age, actually it has nothing to do with age, but it just turns out that as you age, it happens more often than not. We have to provide care to our parent, aging parent, to our spouse, and if God forbid, even perhaps to our children sometimes. I actually know of a friend who had two sons, and one of them is died from having brain tumor. So dying is not exclusive to, old people. Young people can die too, and we all have to take care of them. So you and I are almost the same age, and I know that you had to care for your mother, and I had to care for my father, uh, you know, all the way until the end. And from my own experience, having mindfulness became very important because there's nothing more painful than seeing someone that you love dying in front of you. So when we talk about attachment, craving, right? That's number one. We want it. We don't want that. We want them to be well, and as if we can actually make them live forever. When we talk about aversion, You know, when we see the reality is not what we like, we can become very negative. Caregiving can lead to depression, can also lead to anxiety. There's a whole lot of doubt, loss of direction, loss of you know, in that process. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about that from your own experience and how I know you were a monk already when you had to deal with your mother's death, right? Not so much with your father's death, but definitely with your mother's death. So you had that mindfulness training. How does mindfulness factor into caregiving?
What helped me at the time when my siblings and I had to deal with had to support my mother was that I guess the first thing that we need that I understood and had to accept that we all, you know, one day will die. And it helped me to that's the first thing is to accept that reality of all of us. And when that going back to 2015 when we got the news that my mom had bladder cancer and she was 73, and it helped us to say, you know, at least we were given the signal, right? Hey, this was the first sign of her slowly dying process, but it took 5 years. At times it was difficult, but I was just mindful of that. I did not react to it. I did not cry just because one, I understood the process of any human. And being aware of that, I did what I could to support her. I lived with my mom, and my siblings took turn to take her to the doctor, and I still visit the prisons at the same time. Um, I we had 3 bedrooms, and I left the light in the hallway on, especially near the end of her life, and I was able to be with her and not feeling sad. I mean, I felt a bit of sadness, but I did not like ask why this or that. I did not question. I fully accept it. I felt a bit of sadness because but this is the reality of life for each one of us. That's how I apply the mindfulness and also being aware of my feeling and emotion.
Yeah, yeah. So Yan Cheng had a comment, and he said he or she, I don't actually know, but if I made a mistake, apologize. But she said, I apologize. I appreciate this topic, caring for my father with Alzheimer, and trying not to let it consume me. Thank you. And yeah, that's exactly what happened to me. My father was suffering from dementia, among other things, and dementia is a dying with dementia is a very, very complicated process. It's the opposite of what you just described, where you know from the beginning what would be the most likely cause of death, right? Your mother had bladder cancer, so all you're seeing is it um, um, degenerating. But in the case of dementia or Alzheimer specifically, it's not so clear because you don't even, in the beginning, it's not even clear that the person has problem with cognitions or memory or motor functions. So it can be very complicated because a lot of the emotions will come up. You mentioned siblings. A lot of times the stress comes from just interaction with siblings, either because they have different religion, they want to approach problems differently, or they have different ability to accept the reality, which is that in my case, my father no longer recognizes us. He doesn't recognize us. So he think of us, he recognized a face, he recognized that we are there all the time. So he basically associate us as the caregivers, as the professional caregivers, workers. But in his mind, his family had abandoned him, and so very often he would run away from home because he wanted to look for his family. So it causes a lot of stress on us. And so in my case, and that's why I want to talk to you about this, in my case, the mindfulness training really helped me because I was able to, as I said earlier, become very sensitive to my breath and my body reaction to any feeling that I have. And so
Yes.
I was able, I'm not saying that I didn't have those emotions, but I was able to recover from those emotions as quickly as I could and allow me to focus on my dad as opposed to focus on me.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so, um, yeah. So anyway, I guess the reason I said that is that sometimes I, I, um, I want people to be motivated in learning meditation. And so I try to find all different ways why you want to do this, why mindfulness, even though mindfulness is just the first step in that long spiritual journey, and how you could really see the immediate benefit of mindfulness, whether it is about your health, both physical health and mental health. It's about having competitive advantage at your workplace, you know, ability to, you know, let's say you're not a caregiver to someone who is in need of your care at the end stage of life. It's the same thing if you were a leader in your team and you're trying to figure out how to navigate, through people's needs and desire. And sometimes you need to have that edge, which is at least you know what your emotions are before you have to deal with someone else's emotions. So I try to find all the different ways where mindfulness is not just an enhancement of life, but it's really the necessity of life,
It is. It is.
right?
It's the core foundation of
Yeah,
actually
it's just that
human
if you
being.
didn't have mindfulness, then why are you so different from a zombie? Why?
Mhm. Yeah. And
So I
actually,
think I
when
think this last discussion, and I appreciate your input on this,
yeah.
Venerable, is really as we age, the
Mhm.
chances that we become a caregiver, is real.
Yeah.
And the sooner you learn the mindfulness technique, the sooner you can actually give quality care to someone you love.
It when we are fully aware, when we are mindful, when we have a sense of this self-awareness, it can improve our quality of life, our relationship with our family members or with anyone. We, especially being mindful of our feeling as well, we are able, when we feel angry, we can still say that we feel angry, and we don't have the necessary rage, which is that's the reaction of feeling angry.
Mm-hmm,
And we are able to speak calmly and get our point across.
mm-hmm,
If we're not able to, then which is okay, just walk away and we can deal with that
mm-hmm,
later. I mean,
mm-hmm,
that's
mm-hmm.
what being
Yeah,
mindful, being aware
yeah,
is.
yeah. So just in summary, being mindful, having mindfulness just means that you're there 100%. That's all it
Mhm.
means, that you're there 100%, because
Yeah,
otherwise, you know, you're only there partially, because the other parts you're inundated with your own emotions,
yeah.
right? Okay, so if there's no more questions from the outside, I will go ahead and terminate the live cast on all the other platforms, and we can have a discussions with our. I like to say my my army of Cantonese speaking grandmothers. Oh, not all of them, but
All right.
all
Thank you,
right.
everyone.
I know that's not going to come out right. Okay, so thank you everyone from Insight Timer, from YouTube, from Facebook. We'll see you
Oh,
in
it's gonna be a
January.
Thursday, right?
But we will move it to Thursday because Rainbow has to teach now on Wednesday night. But I'll go ahead and announce that and remind you as we go on. Okay, so let me just shut down one platform at a time.